Okay, I just woke up and am now going about my daily routine trying to decide what I'm going to do today. Usually, though, the first thing I do is I get up and I come downstairs and I come to here, which is the kitchen, and for some reason set the pause. Fortunately, for a change, it is all clean. Well, actually, that's not a change, but as you can see, there are a lot of refrigerator magnets there, and those represent places that our children and my wife and I have visited. This kitchen will be remodeled sometime soon. But anyway, what I normally do is come in here and turn on the water at the sink, and then I start to, I let it get nice and warm, and then I will go over here, turn on the stove, and get the pot off and make a cup of tea. When I am done with that, the water is hot, which it is getting there. That usually helps me get it warmed up a little faster. Count to about 12, so that should probably be close to 12, and then put it on the stove and turn off the water. Get the coffee cup and set it down here, and then get lots of Zucchard and a little bit of honey, put it in there and make the tea. While that's heating up, I suppose I could get a spoon. Get a tea bag. Then I will typically go to the studio. Please excuse the mess here, but as you can see, we can go over all the little things at some point in the future, but this is the main studio room. I've already come down and opened the blinds to look outside, but here what I would do is try and decide what it is I want to work on for the day. And here, if I could turn on the lights. There's the switch for that, and you can see there is quite a variety of musical books and stuff. you'll always find something lying out. Just about always. Some things more than others, but this here little piece of paper represents what I was working on a Chopin mazurka that my teacher recently assigned me, trying to work out the triplets, and this is in 3/4 time, and there's these triplets against the duplet and a tied note, and I wasn't sure exactly how to break it up, and so that's what this is for. This is just the right hand. The left hand is doing this 1, 2, 3, whatever, and I will show you that in the actual music eventually. But you'll see that there are plenty of pieces of music lying out somewhere in here. If we go into the other room here, this is the piano, and this is actually the Chopin piece. And if you look right here, you can see here you have the two variations, that measure and then this measure, and here you've got the 2 grace 16ths going to the dotted half, and then in the right hand you've got that triplet figure, and it is still quite problematic for me, but I'm getting there. Anyway, if you listen close enough, that cart there is the media cart that we got, and sometimes I'll put my laptop or speakers on it so I can roll a little recording set. You'll notice that I've got 3 microphone stands in here. I was using the strong boom for the webcam to get the view from over the piano when I did a recording of a practice session. I've also gotten here a little Behringer 4-channel I/O, digital I/O device, and back behind here there are certain pieces that I have been working on recently. Satin Doll by Ellington, the Promenade and the Castle, pictures in exhibition, Mussorgsky. This here is the Scarlatti, which that particular Scarlatti sonata was the first one I had when I started the music management system. And here the jazz improvisation, I do that to work on some scales, and as you can hear, the tea appears to be ready, so I'm going to go ahead and make that, and we'll proceed. Now that I have come back into the studio, I kind of wanted to go over some of the things that I'm working on. This particular book is what my drum teacher has me working on for essential grooves for playing, and one of the composition techniques I use is to take some of these rhythm patterns, and instead of applying them to particular drums, I will apply them to my left hand as I'm playing on the piano or whatever instrument, to create a comping pattern, which, you know, it's like just basic rock might be using, instead of the ride, I would be playing this. Of course, to do this, I have to have everything turned on. Down there's a little Behringer amp. I used to have everything set up through a Behringer mixer that currently has some problems, which is sitting in here. If you look in here, you'll see the Behringer mixer. It's a rack that I built. I always do things on a cheap budget, or try to, for the most part. But the whole right channel for all the pans, anything coming out the right channel, is not always working. And that was due to some Coke being spilled on the thing, more than likely a long time ago. And then, of course, I've got a couple of other things in here. The printer here set up for the network, little projector, and then the key station there, some cases, drums. I think I might have another case, the saxophone's hiding back there, which is a piece of junk, the trumpet case. And here is the music stacks that I have, for the most part. The popular music, some other piano stuff, classical stuff, and a few books on music. But most of the stuff I've worked on over my life is here in this collection. If not there, it will be in the other. Of course, there is the guitar, some of the guitar stuff. And here, my lyric book from the this is from the 1980s, and maybe some as early as the 70s, but you'll notice I keep song words in here that I've typed up. This was all done before, that was done before we even had PCs available. It's on a mainframe computer. I typed all of this up. So I'll put that back here for now. This place needs to be cleaned up, and eventually I will get to it. But the other stuff here that I'm working on, of course, is the Bach fugue here. A while back I learned most of the prelude, but this, when I finally do get it reasonably well mastered, we'll post it, and it will be my second prelude and fugue that I've learned, all of it. The computer, of course, the laptop, is very helpful. I need to renew my antivirus software, and eventually I will. But part of my daily routine typically involves coming in here and checking out the news. Later on, I will probably get into the what I call the music management system. The Corel, the multicam, is what I was using, and I did post something about that on the website yesterday in the blog entry. And of course the Spanish that I'm looking at, the UGA access portal, the email, and it takes a while here, of course. If I go through something like this, I usually have way too many tabs open. Anyway, there's the video capture for the multicam, and I've only got one camera set in here now, so I could do a screen capture here if I wanted. But right now, that wasn't my point. Coming back over here, the Bach. Here's another thing that I am trying to spend some time with. It's not much. Is I picked this up when well, actually I ordered it online, but I first saw it when I was staying in an Airbnb in Salzburg, Austria. And the guy there was a guitar teacher, and when I do one of the percussion lessons, I will probably spend some time talking about this particular book. So the thing that attracted me to it the most was here in the back there are these little rhythm exercises, whatever, little rhythm sequences with drums, cowbell, bongos, woodblock, agaga bells, claves, lots of different percussion instruments, and that's one of the things that got me interested in doing percussion. The other thing here is a couple of days ago, well, last week, Arkansas Traveler. This comes out of the Mel Bay's fiddling method, and it is a fiddle tune. I have the double stops, but what I did was I took that and keyed it into Finale and created Guitar Tab, because there's a friend of mine that trying to help him with learning to read music some, and there's some other percussion books hiding under there that I don't get into that much. And there is the second Behringer I/O that I use for my digital I/O stuff, and it was originally sitting on top of the mixer, because the mixer was a 4-bus mixer, and I could use it to route into the computer for when I'm running my DAW, which right now the DAW that I have been using and probably will continue to use is the Reaper DAW, which I'm sure eventually, if I can find the little link for it, they always hide it somewhere in here. Not even sure where it went to. Oh, it's way up here at the top, So you start that up and you'll see Reaper starting. And we'll eventually get into that. And that's the default. This is 62, which is interesting. But anyway, there were, that was for, as you can see here, it opens up everything that had been open previously, which, too many things. Okay. Yes, well, there's a new version of it, and I usually don't update my versions for quite some time, but this is recording in the Bach Fugue. This was one of my default templates that I created here and had set it originally. It records the acoustic piano. It has various drum things. I'll get into this in a different video, but that is, one of the main things that I use for recording purposes. And the monitor over there was initially intended to be a dual monitor in here, but for some reason it will not work and sync up with the laptop, which is the impetus for me to go ahead and get a new or build a computer from scratch, because I want to, in the corner up there and probably that corner and possibly even that corner and that corner, I want to put monitors and cameras in here so that I can record both the video and the audio of what I'm doing. This little keyboard here, it's a probably the cheapest MIDI controller I could find, with a knobs on it and faders, and I think I paid something like $89 for it, and it was 3 octaves, and will fit in a hard shell suitcase. I took that to Europe with me last summer when my wife and I went there. That was actually, it's what I'm using now for my power amp, monitor power amp, and this is all old equipment that I had. That PV I got from Bjorn Fowler, along with the Fender Jaggercaster is what I want to call it. It's a 62 Jaguar neck on a 59 Strat body. And then the Ibanez, I don't have any idea where I picked it up, but I've had it since sometime in the 1980s. And my son bought the Pacifica, and I usually very rarely will play it. I'll play the Taylor sitting back there that he also bought when he had some interest in guitars. And the collection of drumsticks you see lying around is from him. Now, hiding under this thing I mentioned earlier, there's a MacBook Air that my sister-in-law gave my daughter, and she doesn't use anymore. And this is something from my percussion teacher I need to go over. And all these little books here are the Chopin Etudes. I had worked one of those up. It was the one I messed up really bad on my audition. But it was, I think, would have been the A-flat major one. Want to go back to it, number 13, yes. But the other pieces I'll get. And then these were just here for reading purposes. We'll discuss reading at some point, both piano and whatever. And I still have this out. This was from UGA for February of this year. And the thing here was the Che Malambo. Was Friday, February 21st. I did not attend this one. There was one that the school system, Oconee County school system, and actually several schools in Clark attended, that was in the morning, I guess. And it was really neat. So, and these are files to be sorted. Here are hard copies of various loose sheet music pieces, and as you can see, this place really needs some serious cleaning, but eventually I'll get around to doing that. And the Behringer amp is, it's a clean amp with 3 inputs and a line out, so that I can run it to and from the mixer, use it as a monitor, use it as a personal monitor, and it also has one of the inputs as a microphone input, which is nice. And of course down here is the flute. I also took that with me to Europe, but one of the springs has recently broken on it. And other types of music, choral music that I have done in the past, some guitar tablature, and some jazz stuff, some stuff from church, my Harvard Dictionary of Music, and then various worship books, I guess. And down at the bottom you'll see the saxophone book when I had saxophone lessons. Just didn't really go that far, and some other things, but another day we'll get into that. Now, I had sat down and started to play through the Bach from memory to see what I could do, and got about halfway through it before I had a major memory slip. But I wanted to go upstairs and try and map out what I plan to do for the day. And so Here, I guess I could turn that light out and that light out and this light out. The Hammond, one day I will get to that. And as you can see up here is what I call the office, and here is where I do my studying. The trumpet, yes, I moved that up here a couple of days ago since I've been spending so much time up here. And let me go ahead and turn on the computers. You can see I've been working on Spanish most recently, and then of course following the news some. But what I'm going to do now is try and straighten this up a little bit and download these little pictures to take care of and plan out what I'm going to do today.